Hello, let's do the New York Times Medium Sudoku for May 23rd, 2025. The reason I'm doing the medium today is because I am getting pretty consistent comments saying, hey, the medium today was actually harder than the hard. So I wanted to go over how the New York Times labels these, because some people are like, oh, they accidentally switched the labels. Well, first of all, there's no they, there's a computer. I'm pretty sure no human ever sits in between the computer generating the puzzle and it getting published to us. Never seen any names credited as editors for it or anything. So they created a computer algorithm to generate puzzles ages ago. It's quite possible they generated a ton of them up front and then it just randomly picks one for the day. Because we've had exact repeats before too. Anyway, it classified easy, medium, and hard probably over a decade ago. And 2 decades ago even. And so here's how it classified it. Now you can agree or disagree whether this makes it easy, medium, or hard, but this is how the New York Times did it. So there are basically 4 techniques that are ever required for any New York Times puzzle. I guess I could even limit it to 3 techniques. The 3 techniques are singles, locked candidates, and tuples. Or locked sets if you prefer. So the good generic terms for these are singles, locked candidates, locked sets. So if it has only singles required to solve it, it's an easy. If it requires singles and locked candidates, then it's medium. And if it requires singles, locked candidates, and locked sets, then it's hard. Whether those are easy or hard to find, the computer doesn't know. It can find them all instantly. So it does not grade based on that. It grades based on which techniques are required in order to solve it, unless you're going to use more advanced techniques. Right. So, for example, a medium may be solvable without ever doing locked candidates because maybe enough pairs and triples will get you through it as well. But you can technically get through the solve path without using those. So what are these techniques? Well, singles, there's hidden and naked singles. A naked single is when you look at a cell and between its row, column, and box, looking at these cells basically, you can account for 8 of the 9 digits. And so if you can account for 8 of the 9 digits, then there's only 1 digit left, and that is a naked single. A hidden single is kind of the opposite. You look within a box and you say, where does the digit whatever go? Say 9. And then you go, okay, well, this is the only place for 9 in the box. That's actually true in this puzzle. Anyway, it's a freebie for you. And so that's a hidden single because in a row, column, or box, you have to have 1 of every digit. If there's only 1 place to put that digit, you have to place it there. And that's called a hidden single. So those are the 2 singles types. And that's all that's required for easy. Locked candidates are what I usually call pointing and claiming. They're similar concepts where within 1 row, column, or box, you have limited a digit to also being locked to a different row, column, or box. So rows would lock to boxes, columns would lock to boxes, boxes lock to rows or columns. So I'll go over those when we find them, but the pointing and claiming. And then once you start introducing stuff like hidden pairs, hidden triples, naked triples, that sort of thing, that bumps it up to hard. And I've gone over all of those techniques in detail in a video in the description. I will describe them as we find them in this puzzle, but we will not be looking for any locked sets in this puzzle because I want to prove to you that it can be solved with only locked candidates. And because we know it can only be solved with locked candidates, we only need that. We're going to direct our penciling to pencil the bare minimum to just note that. So I'm gonna talk about our notation as we go. But basically, I'm only going to corner mark, and I'm only going to corner mark when it is interesting for pointing or claiming or hidden singles. So we're going to be very light on our penciling. Otherwise, we're just going to solve it with only that kind of penciling. So we don't have to center mark if we're not on the hunt for locked sets, pairs, triples. All right, cool. Well, there is a link in the description if you want to try the puzzle yourself, and I'm going to get started right now. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to look for specific things that are going to be interesting. And as I find them, I will tell you what is interesting about them and why I'm marking it. So we have this 2, 6, and 9. Is there anything I want to do with 2, 6, or 9? Yeah, so I want to mark the 6s. And the reason I want to mark the 6s is because they signal that 6 isn't in these 3. So if we're ever going to look for a hidden single in this row, a hidden single 6, these kind of tell us about that. We can look for the 6s lining up in another box to kind of hint us toward that. So I'm going to mark those 6s. What I'm not going to mark, for example, is these two 2s, because we already have a 2 in this column. So all this is telling us is 2's in one of these two, but it doesn't give us pointing. It doesn't give us claiming. It doesn't tell us about the column they skip. So we're going to skip penciling that. So these two 9s, for example, looking up here, and this 9 looks in. I actually had that freebie hidden single earlier, but that is a hidden single. And now I am going to mark these 9s because this column doesn't have a 9 yet. So we should look immediately for the 9. And if we don't see it, this at least will remind us later to go and look for it, because it's not going to be crowded out by a bunch of other marks, hopefully. Other things I'm looking for is we have this 2, 5 here. So the 7 and the 9, or the 7 is a new digit looking in. If we had more 7s over here, then it might have given us a hidden single or pointing. It did not in this case. We do have these two 7s, and that tells us 7's on one of these two. And so we do want to look for 7 in this row. There are 3 places for 7 in the row, so we can't place it yet. So you're looking at the 2, 5, 9. Let's make sure we are systematic about this. So yeah, the 2 2's looking down. This 2 looks in, places this 2. Now, do we want to follow up? Yeah, we definitely want to follow up because it places this 2. And then that places this 2. And then there is a 2 in one of these two, but it's not worth marking because it doesn't help in the row, column, or box, or this column. So we have every 2 except for these ones, but we don't have to mark it. All right. So that was 2, 5, 9. So I can basically ignore 2's now for a bit. The 3's match, but we don't need to mark it. The 1. Okay, so we have this one and this one. This is interesting because it does cause pointing. These ones point in along with these ones. So we'll also mark them here to remind us these can't be 1. And then we want to look in this column for 1's, but there's 4 places. The other thing is removing 1 from these two. Did that cause a naked single? Does it look like it might have? I don't know, but this 7 looking down does give us the 7 in this box. That might help us narrow this down. So it's not 1, but it can still be 3, 5. Yeah, that's at least 2 digits, so we're not too worried about it at the moment. We just want to see if the claiming or the pointing gave us like a naked single that we can place. I was somewhere. I was up here on this 1. We have the 3's as well. Okay. I don't think there's anything with 3's I want to do. 2, 7, and 3. This is where I would have found the 7 easily. I just found it a little early. 3's in one of these two. Yeah, we already knew that. We don't need to mark it. The 2's we don't need to mark. The 9 we don't need. 2, 4, 5, 7. I think I looked at a lot of these already. Okay, I don't see anything with the 4. Actually, this 4 looks in, this 4 looks down. 4 is in one of these two. Okay, we don't need to mark that because it doesn't do anything for us. All right. The 3 looking in here. Now that the 7 is placed, so yeah, basically this is a little window. So we want to look through the window. What looks through the window? Well, 7 and 8 are already in the box, so is 2. But the 3 looking through puts a 3 in one of these two. We definitely want to mark that because that points telling us that these aren't 3. That puts a 3 in one of these two. Now, I am going to mark it because it reminds us that we're claiming these 2 digits. Now, from claiming, we want to think about, did that make a naked single in either of these? So this looks like a nice candidate, actually. Let's check it out. It can't be 1, 2. It now can't be 3. It could be 4. It can't be 5, 6, 7. It looks like it could be 8, but it can't be 9. So actually, is it a naked 8? I think 8 was the first one I mentioned. 1, 2, 3. No, 4. It can also be 4. Okay. So I don't think there's anything with that. Oh, I placed the 7. Remember we had these 7s over here? It's always good to glance back over at stuff you marked that you thought might be interesting, because these 7s here are telling us look for the 7 in this row. And now that we have placed this 7, it actually can't be in any of these cells. And so the 7 ends up in one of these two. And I'm going to mark that because it's for the row. The box, it claims the box. This can't be a 7. So that might be interesting at some point. All right, so 7's... Oh, in fact, it's interesting right now because it places the 7 here, and that places this 7 now. So how are we doing on 7's? Yeah, so we're down to this rectangle of 7s, so we don't have to worry about them. In fact, I may be able to get away with just removing these 7s now because they're not helpful anymore. We know they're just down to here. So let's experiment with clearing them out once they're not helpful anymore. Okay. What was I on? I was on this 7, I think. 3. 2. Oh no, I was on this 7. I don't remember what I was on. 4, 5, 7. All right, yeah. Don't have to worry about 7s. Oh, this 4 looks in, this 4 looks in. That places our 4, and based on our corner mark, also places the 6. Now I have this 9 looking down, that places the 9 in the box. And we need a 9 in one of these two. I don't think that's helpful at the moment. Or ever. There's a triple here. We're not going to mark it, though. Yeah, we know that it's the 3 and 7 up here. So let's see. What else can we do? Oh, I got this 4. Remember this was 4 or 8? That's, I mean, if you want to mark stuff like that, like if it's down to 2, sometimes, center marking it can be helpful just to find the naked single later. But I want to show you the minimal marking method here. So again, it's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Can be 8, can't be 9. So it's a naked 8. I don't know that immediately helps me with anything, but it's nice to have. Okay. 4 is in one of these two. Let's mark that because it tells us to look for 4 in this row. This could be the 4, and this could be the 4. So for now, 4 now. Yeah, nothing here. Okay. So what about down here? We've got the 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. 2, 4, 6. I'm just looking at each one at a time. The 7, the 8. We know 8's down here. Okay, I'm not seeing anything with that. 1, 2, 7, 8, 9. And then 2, 3, 7. Usually by the time you get to the end, you've already found everything, but we'll take a look. Okay, so let's use our very sparse corner marks to kind of remind us what we've got. So this can't be a 3 because we have the claiming 3s. And then we're looking for 4 in this row. So if this isn't 3, does that mean it's a naked single? Probably not. I already see it can be 1 or 5, so not a naked single. We have the 9s here telling us to look for 9 in this column. Well, these aren't 9. These aren't 9. Yeah, that's not helpful. Okay. The 1s are pointing. So these aren't 1. No, we already knew that. This isn't 1. So if it's not 1, can't be 2, could be 3, can't be 4. It looks like it would be 3 or 5 at least. 3, 5, 9 even. So it's not that. All right. Is there anything, places with lots of blue digits might be a good place to relook for scanning for useful geometry. So we got this 8 recently. Was that a useful geometry find? We need 2, 6, 8. The 2. Oh, we already know about the 2 though. Yeah. Yeah, I should stop paying attention to 2s. We don't need that. So what's next? Is there 1, 3, 4, 5, 7. We need a 5 and one of these two. 6, 4. Need a 4 and one of these two. So this cell's a naked single. all I did here was just think about how this box needs 3, 4, 5, 6, and this sees 3, 5, and 6. So this is a naked 4. 4 sounds like something I was looking for earlier. Let's make sure we follow up properly. Yeah, so now these 4s look in, this 4 looks down, placing this 4. These 4s look up, and here, this reminds us that we should be looking for 4 in this row. We don't really need to mark it. In fact, I'm going to unmark this 4 because we found 4 in this row. These 4 is marked here. Eventually, I would have come back and looked if I hadn't noticed this. And that was reminding us to look for 4 in this row. And it can't be here, can't be here or here now. So the 4 gets placed. And so that places 4 in this box because we have 4 4s looking in. Places it right there. All right. So what does that get us? Can we do more with 4s? No, we're down to this rectangle of 4s and that's it. We got a bunch of rectangles left for these things. Did this 4 occupy a spot for 3 by any chance? Kinda. Okay, we have pointing 3s in here because it filled this box row. That's the follow-up we should have been doing, which is now look for anything here that isn't already placed in the box. The 3 is the only one, but it does put a 3 in one of these two, which is going to point, telling us this can't be 3. So that places the 3 here. I had those 3s marked because they claimed that 3. Okay. And now 3 is in one of these two, but it doesn't actually point anymore. But we want to look for 3 in this column. We don't have it in this column yet. So I'm going to leave it around to remind me of that. Okay, so the things I'm trying to remember, 1 pointing, saying this can't be 1. The same for claiming here, as well as looking for 1 in this column. We've got the 3s here. Are those still necessary? No, because they were pointing, so we don't need to remember those 3s anymore. Because that can't be 3 now, naturally. And so yeah, it's just the pointing, claiming 1s, and the 3s here reminding us about the 3s there. So we got to look for more to do. The 7 looking up is now placed. Yeah, okay. If we had the 7's corner mark, that would have been an instant mark, but we had to refind it. And that places the 7 here as well. Remember, we only have 2 7s left. And that now places the 9 in this box. Now that we know it's there, that does mean the 9 is the 9 is placed, isn't it? Yeah, the 9 is placed in this box. And now the 9 is placed in this box, and that also places our 1. And that's going to place the 1 in this box. Looking for more follow-up. So this column needs an 8, and this 8 says not here. So that's our 8, and that's our 6. So follow up on the 8 and the 6. So 8 is placed in this box here, and it is now in one of these two. We'll mark that because we want to remind ourselves that 8 needs to go in this row somewhere. Still plenty of places, but that'll remind us. Okay, and then I need a 9 in this row. 9 can't go there or there. So it's just going to be a bunch of like hidden singles at this point. That's 9 and 1, naked singles 2. This is 3, 5, which we haven't resolved. This is also 3, 5 that we haven't resolved. Oh, but that means this is resolved. This is our 1. That places 1 in this box. How are we doing on 1s? We could just focus one at a time on digits at this point. That's probably an effective way to finish without marking. 1 is placed here. That's the end of 1s. Did we were down to 2s that are still not resolved. Okay. The 3s. You know, looking at what's this pair? 5 and 8. Okay, so the 5 tells us that's 8 and that's 5. That places this 8. We wanted to look for 8 in this row. It's now one of these two. Okay. Here we need 3 and 5. This 5 tells us that's 3. That's 5. 5 don't work. Here we need 3 and 6. It's not resolved. It means this is 3, 6 as well. Oh, so if these are all 3, 6, then what's this? This is the 5 for the column. Yeah, we have these 2 5s looking down. Kind of immediately abandoned my idea of going digit by digit, but anyway. We need 3, 6 here. The 6 tells us that's 3 and 6. That gives us the 5 in this row, which then finishes the 3 down here. The 5 goes here, and this is our 8. All right. 3, 6, 3, 6, 4, 5. Huh. I mean, we're almost done. 3. Yeah, oh, okay. Sorry, this 3 resolved the 3, 6 a while ago. Anyway, that's 6, that's 3, that's 6, that's 3. So 4, 5 is still not resolved. Okay, 3s are done. 2s are still not resolved. How about 4s? No, the 4s are like this. How about 5s then? The 5s have to resolve then. No, not yet. The 5s are like this. How about the 6s? 6s are like that. 6 is placed here, which places the 6 here. 6s are done. And that was one of the places for 4, if I remember right. Yeah. So that's 4 and that's 4. And so now we should be able to finish the 5 at the 5. And that used up a spot for 2. 2 and 2, and then that's our 8. All right. Cool. So I hope that was instructive. Medium solved with very minimal marking, just pointing and claiming. I think if you overmark the medium, it makes it harder to find, especially claiming. And if you overmark your corner marks, it stops. They stop reminding you what you were trying to look at. So I think for the mediums, it might be a good idea to practice doing less marking. You can even, like, because we're only corner marking, you can use the New York Times app this way. So if you don't even have to use Sudoku Pad, you can just go on the New York Times app as one kind of marking. Just mark it as if they were corner marks. And mark minimally. Like, don't mark things that aren't telling you anything new. Then you can always just go back and look at the 2 or 3 things that you marked and just follow up on them when you get stuck and see if they're telling you anything new. All right, cool. And then you just got to, it can help you get better at finding naked singles and hidden singles by being forced to kind of scan for them without the markings being a crutch for that. So anyway, might be good practice for you. So when you do if you do easy, medium, and hard, do easy to practice. Like, don't mark easy at all is my recommendation. Just find those naked and hidden singles. You'll help your scanning. So easy, don't mark at all. Medium, only mark when it's those useful corner marks that I used today. So it's going to be if it points or claims, and it's going to be if it's reminding you about the row or column they aren't in, that you want to be on the lookout for hidden singles and pointing and claiming. And then on the hard, you are going to have to find sometimes just a completely random triple. And so you are going to have to center mark in order to find those. But I might start experiment. I don't know. Let me know if you want me to start experimenting with on the hard, doing a little bit less of the corner marking to make the corner marks I do actually stand out. But I don't know. I think for hard, it's pretty effective the way I'm doing it. So anyway, if you want to do all 3, I would recommend practicing those specific things when you do those. And anyway, let me know how you did on this. I hope this video was helpful. And if you enjoyed it, why not leave a like, subscribe, and a kind comment below.